The night began like any other babysitting gig. I arrived at the Thompsons' residence just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the suburban neighborhood. The house, nestled at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, exuded an air of suburban normalcy, a facade that would soon crumble, revealing the unsettling events that would unfold within. Mrs. Thompson greeted me at the door, her smile strained, as she handed over a list of emergency numbers and a rundown of the kids' bedtime routine. The children, Emma and Charlie, were already tucked in when I arrived, their angelic faces illuminated by the soft glow of nightlights. "Feel free to make yourself at home, dear. We'll be back around midnight," Mrs. Thompson said, her eyes lingering on mine for a moment longer than necessary. As the door closed behind them, I settled into the living room, the soft hum of the television providing a gentle backdrop to the evening. The house seemed to embrace me in a warm, familial embrace, and I couldn't help but feel at ease despite the unnaturally quiet atmosphere. Around 9:02 p.m. the phone rang. Startled, I picked up the receiver, expecting the Thompsons to check in. However, the voice on the other end wasn't Mrs. Thompson's warm maternal tone. "Hello, dear, how are the children?" The voice, a distorted whisper that sent a chill down my spine, belonged to Mr. Thompson. It was laden with a peculiar urgency, a tone that seemed incongruent with the casual nature of a routine check-in. "They're fine," I replied, trying to mask the unease in my voice. "Is everything okay?" Good. Keep an eye on them, make sure they don't wander." And the call ended abruptly, leaving me unsettled and questioning the strange directive. I shook off the eerie feeling, attributing it to the unfamiliarity of babysitting in a new home. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, the phone rang again. This time it was Mrs. Thompson. "Hello, dear, just checking in. How are the kids?" "They're asleep, everything's quiet," I replied, my gaze wandering to the staircase leading to the children's bedrooms. Good. Remember, don't let them near the basement under any circumstances, okay?" The specificity of the instruction left me perplexed, but I assured Mrs. Thompson that I would follow her directive. The call concluded with an abrupt click, leaving me with a sense of disquiet that lingered like a shadow in the dimly lit room. As the clock struck midnight, the Thompsons had yet to return. I glanced at my phone, considering whether to call and check on their ETA. Before I could decide, the phone rang once more. This time, it was Mr. Thompson again. "Hello, dear, just a quick check-in. How are the children?" "They're still asleep. When will you be back?" I asked, my patience wearing thin. "Soon, very soon. Just make sure you keep them in their rooms. Don't let them wander. And whatever you do, don't answer the door for anyone." The urgency in Mr. Thompson's voice heightened my anxiety. I pressed for more information, but he evaded my questions with vague reassurances. The call ended, leaving me on edge and questioning the bizarre instructions. As the night wore on, the eerie calls persisted, each one more unsettling than the last. The Thompsons' inquiries became increasingly specific, focusing on peculiar details like the temperature in the house, the position of the children's nightlights, and the shadows cast by the trees outside. I glanced at the clock. It was well past 1 a.m., and the Thompsons had yet to return. The unsettling calls continued, each one eroding the veneer of normalcy that had initially enveloped the suburban home. The atmosphere in the house became charged with an unspoken tension, the air thick with the weight of unexplained mysteries. Around 2:00 a.m. the phone rang again. This time it was Mrs. Thompson, her voice a breathless whisper that sent shivers down my spine. "Dear, listen carefully. You need to leave the house now. Take the children and go. Don't ask questions, just go. We'll explain everything when we get back." Before I could respond, the line went dead, leaving me with a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach. I hesitated, torn between the urgency of Mrs. Thompson's plea and the responsibility of caring for the children. As if on cue, the house seemed to come alive with eerie sounds, the creaking of floorboards, the distant murmur of whispers, and the rustling of unseen movements. The unsettling atmosphere intensified, and I felt a sense of impending dread closing in around me. Summoning every ounce of courage, I tiptoed up the staircase to check on Emma and Charlie. The children's bedrooms were eerily quiet, the soft glow of their nightlights casting long shadows across the hallway. I peeked into Emma's room first, finding her sound asleep with her favorite stuffed animals by her side. Charlie's room, however, was empty. Panic seized me as I searched the house for any sign of the missing child. I called out his name, my voice trembling in the silence that enveloped the once familiar rooms. The unnerving realization set in. He was nowhere to be found. Just as I was about to dial the police, the phone rang again. This time, the caller ID displayed an unfamiliar number. With trepidation, I answered the call. "Dear, you need to leave the house now. Take Emma with you and go. Do not wait, do not hesitate. The basement door will be open. Go through it and you'll find an exit. Don't look back." The urgency in the voice on the other end left no room for doubt. I grabbed Emma, who was now wide awake, and rushed downstairs. The air seemed charged with an otherworldly energy, and the unsettling sounds persisted, amplifying the sense of impending doom. As I reached the ground floor, I hesitated before the basement door. It stood ajar, a gateway into the unknown. The phone call echoed in my mind, urging me to take the path it revealed. With Emma in tow, I descended into the dimly lit basement. The air grew colder, and the distant echoes of strange whispers filled the subterranean space. I navigated through the labyrinthine corridors until I stumbled upon an exit, a narrow door that opened into the cool night air. As we emerged into the backyard, the house loomed behind us like a haunted fortress. The eerie sounds persisted, and I dared not glance back, fearing the unknown horrors that might lurk within. The moon cast a ghostly glow upon the suburban landscape, revealing a world that felt both familiar and alien. I took Emma's hand, the cold night air biting into our skin, as we fled from the Thompsons' house. The suburban streets, once quiet and serene, now felt like a maze of shadows and uncertainty. The weight of unanswered questions lingered, but the urgency of the situation compelled us to keep moving. We reached the end of the cul-de-sac, the Thompsons' house a spectral silhouette against the night sky. As we turned the corner, the unsettling sounds ceased, and a peculiar stillness settled over the neighborhood. The phone in my pocket buzzed, and I hesitated before answering. It was Mrs. Thompson's voice, calm and composed. "You did the right thing, dear. Keep Emma safe. We'll explain everything soon." Before I could respond, the call ended, leaving me with a sense of disquiet that echoed the mysteries of the night. Emma and I wandered the suburban streets, the unknown stretching before us like an uncharted territory. The Thompsons' house, now a distant memory, stood as a testament to the thin veil that separated the mundane from the supernatural. As the first light of dawn painted the horizon, we found ourselves in a world that seemed both changed and unchanged. The suburban neighborhood, bathed in the soft hues of morning, exuded an air of normalcy once more. The mysterious events of the night lingered in the recesses of our memories, leaving us to question the boundaries of reality and the enigmatic nature of the Thompsons' suburban facade. Weeks passed without any explanation from the Thompsons. They never returned, and their house remained an empty shell, a monument to the unexplained events that had transpired within its walls. The children, Emma and Charlie, adapted to their new reality, but the night of eerie phone calls and unspoken mysteries left an indelible mark on our lives. As I reflect on that fateful night, I am reminded that even the most ordinary suburban homes can harbor secrets that defy rational explanation. The thin veil between the mundane and the supernatural can be easily pierced, revealing a realm of unknown possibilities. And as I navigate the suburban landscape, I can't help but wonder what other mysteries lie concealed behind closed doors, waiting to be unveiled by those who dare to venture into the shadows of the familiar.